Hi, thank you for joining me today for your externship training on how to use Westlaw AI assisted research, as well as our new CoCounsel library. So the first place that I want to take you to is AI assisted research. I've logged into Westlaw Precision, so I'm going to click over on kind of the middle left side of the screen where it says AI assisted research. And so here is where you can access Westlaw's AI assisted research. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention about our AI assisted research it is not going outside of Westlaw for any of your research. It is utilizing the databases and content that we have. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the first thing that you can do is you can select a jurisdiction. And I like doing AI assisted research from Westlaw Precision itself because of this. When we get into CoCounsel, I'm going to show you how you can do AI assisted research in CoCounsel, and hopefully one day CoCounsel will be seamless into Westlaw, but for now it's sort of a separate platform, but I will talk a little bit about that in just a moment. So I'm going to select the Fifth Circuit and I will click Save. And I have a question here already asked. So I have, do students have First Amendment protection on their own social media account if they post negative comments about a teacher? So Westlaw AI assisted research works very simply with a natural language search. It doesn't utilize Boolean or terms and connectors searching. It is taking the prompt that I entered and it is reading through all of the content on Westlaw. So one of the things that I do try to instill in students is that utilizing things like AI assisted research and CoCounsel are very much practices in patience. I know that you are very used to running a search on Westlaw and all of a sudden you get a citation list. And it is going to be a little different when you are utilizing tools like AI assisted research and CoCounsel because it is doing a lot more in-depth reading, going through the content, trying to answer your questions or the prompts that you are entering on the screen. All right, so we are still waiting here. I just am always again, telling people that you have to wait a little bit. You can utilize the email me when response is ready, but I'm not going to use that today. And so there is something that I also like to address as well with AI assisted research. I feel like it's another tool in your toolkit. It's not the like always the first way or the last way that I would end my research, but I think research should be a collection of searches and content that you are looking through. And so this is just another way to try to find the answers that you're looking for. If you know that you need a case or a statute or a treatise, go to that database, try to run a search. But I do love AI assisted research in the sense of what I'm getting ready to show you right now that we have a result. So if I had just run this, let's say in Fifth Circuit cases, I would have just run my natural language search and gotten a list of case law citations. But what I love about the AI assisted research result is I'm given sort of what's called an answer. And so it's kind of telling me and explaining a little bit to me the answer to the question that I have prompted here, as well as leading me to cases and documents that have answered that prompt. And so here I have application of tinker, threatening or harassing speech, intent to the school community, balancing free speech and the school's interests. So again, that's what I like about the AI assisted research result is it kind of is showing me and explaining to me why it's pulled up the results and how it relates to the question or the prompt that I asked it. And so again, we also have some commentary articles, and then we have our list of cases, statutes, and regulations. Following that, we have administrative decisions and guidance, practical law material, if applicable, and then current awareness and secondary sources. So here we have secondary sources and then current awareness, news articles, practitioner insights, anything like that that might also be useful based on the prompt that you have entered. So that is AI assisted research, and just a little different how it looks as if I had done a global search in Westlaw Precision, and getting this little bit of kind of what I call content or an answer to my actual question versus if I had just run this search in Fifth Circuit cases or in text and treatises and just got a list of citations, and then I had to go in and see what it was talking about. So I do like this as a way to get started. But again, if I don't know a lot about the First Amendment or social media or students in schools, I'm maybe not sure if this is actually correct. I actually need to go in and read this material. So always with any research, that is up to you to go in and make sure that it is applicable and, follows what it is that you are researching. All right, I'm going to go back to the homepage. The next place that I want to take you to is CoCounsel at the top of the screen. CoCounsel is a product that we also have, and it's based on various skills that you can do. And we now have what's called the CoCounsel library that breaks these tasks and things down even deeper for you. One of the places that I want to take you first into is to open this up. I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, and I want you to click where it says open in CoCounsel. I already have a screen open here. And the thing that I want you to see that you won't see if I was just looking at CoCounsel right here on this screen is this link right here that's called Library. The CoCounsel library is an easy to use repository of jobs and tasks that you need to get done. And so here, I'm going to actually untag that summarize. We have over 83 different tasks that you can do in CoCounsel. I'm going to tell you, this was launched back in July. And at that time, it was only around 50 or 60 different tasks that were in the library. So in just over 6 weeks, we've added about 20 different tasks. I'm obviously not going to go through all 83 of these with you today. I did want to highlight some of them that I think would be helpful for you and talk about how you could use them. And so over on the left side, you can tag a different option, a different filter here to see what tasks fall under either that practice area, that category, that type of skill that you want to do. So I selected litigation. I can go through the list to see the different types of tasks or jobs that you might have to do as an extern or as a practicing attorney or summer associate. I can untag litigation and go into transactional and see the different tasks here that might be useful for you in doing your legal research or drafting tasks as an extern. And then the same thing for the other filters. Maybe I want to review some materials. I can see the different options here: argument and counter argument, an argument outline, comparing documents, and so on. So again, just different options here. I did want to highlight research and the AI assisted research here, which is the same Westlaw AI assisted research search that we just did. The only difference here in CoCounsel is if I select this option in CoCounsel to do my AI search in, I have to include the jurisdiction in my prompt. Whereas when I was in Westlaw AI Assisted here, I could select it in the original search that I ran on the homepage. So I did want to point that out. So I could do my search, do students, about the social media have First Amendment protection? And then I would have just typed in, please look in, Fifth Circuit cases and statutes and secondary sources or something like that. So I did want to point that out to you. And that is one of the reasons why I do like doing the Westlaw AI assisted research specifically on the homepage from Westlaw Precision. Hopefully the jurisdiction will be added soon, but I did want to point that out. So I'm going to go back to the library. So there are four main skills. So you have drafting, research, review, and summarize. So the research skill will answer a question across a data set. Another thing about CoCounsel, and you'll see here in just a moment, is that besides the Westlaw AI assisted research, which is using Westlaw, all of these tasks in the library require you to upload your own documents. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. The review skill reads files word for word to find a user specified answer to the content that you've uploaded. The review skill reads the documents again to find something specific that you're looking for within the document. Summarize reads the document again, word for word, to provide a fixed answer to your question. And then the draft skills use descriptions to create a user-specified document that you want to create. So again, depending on what you're working on, any of these might be helpful, but again, you might want to take some time to go through each of the four categories to see what the options are. I'm just going to show you and highlight some of them for you today. So the first is summarize. I'm going to just do an easy summarize, and I'm going to summarize several documents that I want to tackle. So here, I'm going to click where it says upload, and I will click from my device. So I've saved some documents onto my desktop. And I have these three First Amendment cases saved onto my desktop: New York Times v. Sullivan, Texas v. Johnson, and US v. O'Brien. Those will now upload into the task that I'm doing. So my prompt is going to be related about these tasks, about these documents. So this is what CoCounsel is looking at to answer my question. So I am simply going to ask, summarize these cases into facts and holdings. So again, just as I mentioned with Westlaw AI, it is a practice in patience. And so it's not going to just all of a sudden, burst out into a result. It may take a few minutes or so, or hopefully not too long. Here it's telling us that it's responded about, a little more than a quarter way through. Might take about 1 to 3 minutes. So I do like that it's showing me that it's working and how long it might take. And so here we have the results. And I can see all of the facts for US O'Brien and the holding. There it is for Texas v. Johnson and New York Times v. Sullivan. These footnotes here are related to the pages in the documents where it retrieved these answers. So if I clicked on that footnote for Texas v. Johnson, it's going to take me and show me where in the case it pulled out that information to put into this summary. So that is what those footnotes are. I can then download this information into a Word document, just simply with what was on the screen, or including the footnotes if I wanted to do that as well. One of the things that I also wanted to point out here on the screen is, so you can see at the top, it says getting started with the summarize skill, and that is what is showing up in my recent chats as well. What happens is anytime I start a new task in any of the skills, it's just going to simply say getting started with, or whatever skill I am using. You can rename these to whatever you want. So maybe I will change it to First Amendment cases summaries and rename that so I can remember exactly what it is that happened in this chat, what is contained within this research that I'm doing. Now, something else that I also want to show you and make clear is that anytime I keep going within the same chat, within this same thread, it's going to still look at the same materials that I've already uploaded. So if you have new information that you want CoCounsel to look at, that's totally separate from this, you need to click new and to start a new chat. Again, just depending on what it is that you are wanting to create. So I'm going to scroll back down and I want to go into timeline, which is one of my other summarize favorite features that you might have to use at some point. So I want to create a timeline of materials, of facts, maybe events, things that happen during a certain incident or case that I'm looking at. So again, I have to upload my own document. So I will click upload from my device. I'm going to use my desktop. That is not what I wanted. It's my one that says draft timeline. So here we have, this is about a faculty tenure discrimination case. And so I am going through quite a bit of materials here, and I want to create a timeline of what happened with the client. And so I am just going to say, I need a timeline of important events, and I will click send. Now, I will also tell you that timeline does also take a little bit more time because it is truly going through the documents and organizing anything date-wise important that it's looking for as part of the record. So I just wanted to point that out. I can see here that it's going to take about 10 to 20 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and wait for 10 to 20 minutes. I'm going to rename this faculty tenure timeline, and I'll come back to this later. And that's what I also love about CoCounsel is if I don't have 10 to 20 minutes to wait for something, I can come back to it and check on it later. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to start a new chat. And I'm going to go back to my library. And this time I want to go into review and look at some of the options here. And so I'm going to review some documents, medical record analysis, party arguments, but I just want to review some documents. and go into my review folder. There are my medical records, and upload those up into my files within CoCounsel and ask a question: what injuries were sustained by the patient? Again, maybe I'm not a medical expert. I don't know how to look for injuries or what they're called. I, don't know medical terminology. So I want CoCounsel to look this information up. Again, I can rename this. Medical records injuries, and let that go. Again, this one might take about 2 to 5 minutes. It's just about 6 documents, but again, it's reading through all of this information for me. So I will come back to this one as well. I don't want to just sit here and wait with the screen. I also love this because it allows you to multitask. If you know you have several tasks to do, you can just start prompting CoCounsel to do all of these little tasks. And then once you have them all entered, you can go back to them. I'm going to click into new and start over. And click into the library. And I want to compare documents. I want to go back to that task. So if you know what you're looking for, you can just type it in. So I'm going to compare a couple of documents that I have. So I'm going to tell you something that I did. I went online and found an old Louisiana bar exam, and I downloaded it. It was a model answer, and I think it was posted by the Bar Association. I downloaded it, and then I went and changed a bunch of answers and created what I called the student answer. So I kept the original model answer and then made a student answer. So then I'm going to click done. And I want CoCounsel to compare these documents, highlighting the differences and the similarities between them. And here's hoping it's going to give me kind of a side-by-side grid format of these documents, showing me the expert memo as compared to the student memo, the one that I changed answers to, showing me where things were answered similarly and where things were answered differently. And so what I like about this is, if you needed to upload briefs of a client and upload it, a case side by side, you can see if what they are talking about is actually what the court said. You can do this for practice exams. Again, if they have model answers on the library, in the library. So this is just something that I think a lot of people could use in unique ways. Again, I'm going to rename this Comparing Bar Exam Answers, and I will rename that. Let me go back to my faculty tenure timeline to see how that's going. All right, so, it's almost finished actually. So you can see that it's finished. Once it says download, I can download that with the footnotes if I want, where it got these dates from, or in just a simple Word document for myself. And so you can see that it's going through by specific dates or years, time frames that Westlaw CoCounsel pulled out for us here. And so this might have taken you quite a while to dig through all of these documents. There were, about 8 files added. So imagine if you had 100 files added or 50 files added that were each 10 to 20 pages. I have not received anyone who's uploaded so much materials that any of these skills did not work. I have also been asked about security. We do not keep the materials on CoCounsel. It is with a third-party server, so we do not keep or look at these materials. Also, CoCounsel isn't learning from what you are entering. So let's say you are doing this work and someone else from Tulane or whatever school you might be at or whatever place of employment you might be at is also doing something similar. They are not going to benefit or learn from what you are doing. So there's also that built-in security that that material is not being shared or the answers are not being shared. So I did also want to point that out. So here is just an example of our faculty tenure timeline. I'm going to go into the medical records to see if those answers came up. So here we have document by document. So you can see that it's looking through all of the materials that I've uploaded and showing me all of the different injuries that were sustained in the records that I've uploaded. So again, just something great. Maybe if you aren't sure exactly what you're looking for, I could go back and look at all of these documents to make sure it didn't miss anything or review something else specific on the page. Where it's footnoted to see if it said anything of how this happened or the severity or anything else that I might need to take a look at a little bit more in depth to talk about. All right, and then we have our comparing of bar exam answers. Here it is. So here we have some of the questions presented in the expert memo versus the student memo. And I can scroll through all of this information in the grid form. And then it goes and tells me a little bit of conclusion and response. Here are some of the similarities, as well as some of the differences in somewhat of an explanation paragraph form. And again, some other specific details here for me that maybe I wasn't expecting. So again, I could just go through these and see if, you know, the student answered well enough and what grade I might want to give them or how I answered compared to what the model answer said. So that is compare. All right, so I'm going to go back and start a new chat. And go back to my library. Show you a couple of other tools. I'm going to type in IRAC. I wanted to show you this one. Some of I will call them the cards in the law library. So those blocks that show you the different tasks. So I'm calling those cards like, you know, in your card catalog of your law library. And so some of them will come with pre-prompts already in them. You can change these prompts. You saw in the ones that I just did, I typed in my own prompt, but some of the cards will come with a prompt already included. And these are written by our experts in Minnesota that are working with CoCounsel and are experts in AI and prompting. And so I like that, especially if I'm not sure what I should be typing into the box and what questions. So I can leave that. And it's going to ask me to upload some court opinions. So I am just going to upload a case, just one more case here that I have saved. I have good old Schaefer versus Heitner. If you remember Civ Pro class, so I'm going to upload that. It's uploaded. I will click continue and then send. So this is great if you have an opinion and you're trying to break it down to see all of the different issues that were argued by the court, kind of showing you the issue, the rule, some sort of analysis, and the final conclusion holding of the court. And again, I can see here that it might take a few minutes. So this one, what I also mentioned earlier, some of these will just say the getting started with. This one is showing me that it's going to be the IRAC analysis request with Schaefer versus Heitner that I uploaded. So some of them will change the chat prompt for me. So I know right now, if I come back to this tomorrow, it's going to be in my chat. All right, so here we have analysis of every issue in Schaefer versus Heitner. So here we have our issue rule application conclusion, issue 1, issue 2, 3, 4, it's still going. Let's see how long it said, about a third of the way done. I'm going to leave that there. Let it still go. I'm going to do one more for you. Take out IRAC. Another option that you have here is to draft correspondence and non-legal documents, such as letters, emails, policies, just expert correspondence, incident summaries. Again, just different types of documents. I will tell you that draft in CoCounsel, I mean, you could try to make it work and, say something like, draft me a summary of facts, draft me a, uh, introduction paragraph to my appellate brief, or whatever it is that you're trying to build. It's not really intended right now to draft large documents like an appellate brief or a full like 10-page memo on something. It's really right now built to draft short documents. And again, I always say play around with it and see what you can get it to do and does it work for you. But I did want to point that out. So I am going to click draft. And I'm going to upload those faculty tenure docs again. But let's say I want to send a letter to the client outlining like next steps, expectations, what potential causes of action we have. So and a short summary. Anything else that I would maybe want. So I will click send and let's see what kind of client letter that it does. So one other thing here with a lot of the drafting, especially if you are sharing legal information potentially with a client, we do have that you are ultimately responsible for ensuring that the work is accurate and that you are not misrepresenting the law. And so you definitely want to go through the letter or whatever document it is that you are asking it. And it says, it looks like you've provided a lot of information. Please wait while I process your request. And again, so it is going to take a few minutes. Let me go back to Schaefer versus Heitner because I knew this one was going to be a little long. So here we have Schaefer versus Heitner, and I know that there were about 9 issues in this case, and so it broke them down, all of the different issues, rules, applications, and conclusions, and the footnotes on where it drew the answer from within the case itself or the document that I uploaded. And there it is. And so here's just a short little summary of the information that I uploaded. So I could now download this, save it into Word, whatever, however it is that I would want to use this. All right. Here we go. So here's my letter. It has a nice little opening here, the address, and it says, Dear Dr. Jones, I'm writing to provide you with an update, current status, some key points, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, discrimination. Here are some of the next steps. Here are your client expectations. Again, you might want to add something here, we don't want you to talk to the university, don't do anything without us knowing about it or anything else that you want. So here, then your signature picker and anything else. And again, this is pretty basic, depending on what it is that I wanted to include, might be a good start. So I could then, download this and modify it, of course, adding, the address, the date, my firm, my judge, whatever's, address and specification. So I just wanted to show that. I'm going to rename that just so that I have it. Client letter to Dr. Jones. Save that. One other thing that I wanted to show all of you, and it is also utilizing the draft option. So I'm going to go back to draft, but I'm going to upload something different. I'm going to upload my personal resume. So I'm going to pretend that I am applying for a job. So I know that a lot of times you don't think about different ways to utilize the resources that you have. And so I'm going to assume that many of you will be looking for jobs soon. You're doing externships and hopefully gaining experience to get a job in the future, perhaps. So I wanted to show you how you can use CoCounsel to help in that process. So I will do Please draft a cover letter to Tulane Law School addressed to James Duggan for my application for a library position. Highlighting my education, work experience, and skills, and community service. Let's see what CoCounsel says about me and trying to help me with a cover letter for a job. Just note, I am not applying to Tulane, although I would love to work there. I love Professor Duggan and I love Tulane, but I'm not applying for a job. And so here we have the header. Dear Mr. Duggan, I'm writing to express my interest. I have my MLIS as well as my JD from Loyola. Again, professional experience over 2 decades at Thomson Reuters. What I have, how many students I've trained, products I've sold. Again, volunteer experience and a conclusion and my signature. I could download this and add anything that perhaps maybe CoCounsel didn't pick up that I would like to include, delete something, reword it in my own voice, but it gives me a little bit of a start. I know sometimes taking your resume and putting it into cover letter form is difficult to kind of reword all of those things. But I just love this in the sense that it's taking my own information and creating a great cover letter for me. So I could then rename this, whoops. Here, a cover letter and rename that. So those are just some of the skills that I wanted to show you in CoCounsel. There are so many more in the library. I really encourage you to look through these and see if any of them might be helpful. See the ones that have prompts already included versus the one where you just enter in your own prompt and, just check it out and see. Again, there are 83 of them. I could just sit here for a couple of hours doing examples on each, but I've highlighted what I think are some of the biggest ones that you might take a look through and would be helpful for what you're going to be working on this semester. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this, and I hope it was really helpful. So good luck this year, and I hope you have a great time in your externship and learn so much about doing a judicial clerkship. Thank you so much.